So there would be times at which I might need to exit from the slideshow mode, and I think that should be okay. It will only be to move to some media or to discuss a few things. All right then. So let's begin with the topic. We have when I looked at this topic, marketing in metaverse era, there are two very clear domains. One is marketing, and then there is metaverse. Metaverse, as in, for me, it is a technology, and marketing then is a business function. And what you could see on the next slides could be a repetition, but I would try to be as concise, and then I would want to push the discussions towards the intention, as in what you can gain from the consulting domain, and how do we address businesses needs. So on this slide, you see it's a list of the topics that I have wanted to touch upon, and I know it is not sufficient, but anyways, let's start the journey now. All right. So stop talking about the metaverse. So this entire deck that's in front of us, it is structured in two phases. First, we are going to talk about metaverse, and then we are going to look into marketing domain. Then we will try to analyze how well do they fit in, and what kind of value can be derived. Now, whatever is on the slide is, I think, already readable. But apart from the definition or a perceived definition of what metaverse is, let's take a look at the timeline. We have a timeline starting from 2022 and moving up to 2029. This image that you see is not generated by me. It is a source from Gartner. But what is tries to say that metaverse is here to stay. Now, in the pedagogy of this program, it says that metaverse is not necessarily, it does not necessarily exist. That's correct. But something that does not necessarily exist is of significant importance, and people can plan its journey. So much so that there's a roadmap planned until 2029. People see the utility of immersive experiences and virtual economies. I think this is a significant point to note. But we can also talk about what brought things to this point. What happened? We had Industry 4.0. We had in the previous evolutions of the industrial revolutions, we saw that okay, there are so many new technologies coming in. We have digital controllers. We have other kinds of digital interaction methods. HMIs came up, and then in Industry 4.0, individual technologies came up that provide different kind of interactions. Essentially, when we had the courses of digital transformations going on, there are two different thoughts. One is what can be digitized, as in what in terms of industry can is perceived as physical and can be simulated. Then we had digital transformation of the business processes, which again does the same thing but on the process business process level. So somewhere these two again interact with each other, or have you can say a conflict point, and that creates avenues for bringing things together. I think that's where metaverse sits right now. It not necessarily affects only on the industrial side, and it spans through entire business domain as well. We'll talk on this question in the coming slides, but right now let's acknowledge that, This development of new technologies, development of new methods of interaction, paved way for not only value creation via uh, automation, but also on the functional level. Okay, then I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so on the last slide, I was talking about things that enabled such a convergence of you know industrial level controls with the business processes. How was that possible? It was possible because we had certain elements, or you can say situations that again could be tied up together. So we had devices, let's say for IoT as devices, they can enable digitization of devices, and then it can exist as a digital device as well as a physical device. Of course, can interchange data. That's why it's the Internet of Things, and that very thought again bifurcates the two worlds, cyber and physical. And when these two forms exist together, and when we try to scale this up, we'll always get a metaverse. So this goes back to the previous definition that was on the screen, that it's an immersive, persistent, and interactive digital environment. I'm sure you guys must have come across this explanation in the previous sessions as well. So I'll try to move on, and focus for right now for us is to clearly articulate on how things are set up in a metaverse. We have devices that take inputs from that take physical input, and then generate an output which might be digital in nature, or might also be physical in nature. For example, let's say we have game controllers. If we have Xbox, of course you are playing into a simulated environment, but the player also gets some feedback. There's some haptic feedback. If they are hitting a roadblock, they'll feel a shock, right? So those are feedbacks coming from a simulated world to a physical world. So right now we can say that the journey from physical to simulated and from simulated to back, those devices can be categorized as physical enablers. That's where we have VR, AR, IoT, and MR. Talking of MR, it is a combination of VR and AR, and we have our differences on VR as well as AR. We'll come to those later on. Then we have digital enablers. These are things that essentially exist only digitally. There's no way that they can affect the physical world. Yet they exist, yet they have significant importance. That list is in front of you. For example, we have cryptocurrency, blockchain, we have digital assets. Then there are again generative forms such as natural language processing and generative AI, which is which has taken foothold so much these days. Right? Now, according to Gartner, the elements of metaverse comprise of all such things. When I say physical enablers, on the right hand side of the table, you can see there's something called as infrastructure, device independence. That's where I wanted to focus right now. When we say device independence, that means there are multiple channels through which you could enter a metaverse. That's where VR, AR, IoT, all these come into play. And we have then support infrastructure. Then how will we interact with them? For that, we have digital currency, NFTs, uh, I'm sure you guys have enough knowledge on what NFTs are. Like 5 6 months ago, there was a huge furor on NFTs. People were buying art, and it was being sold for such high prices. Right? So likewise, there are several such elements that can be created into a metaverse, are a part of metaverse, and one of the key things that a metaverse must have is digital humans. Take a note of this because we'll discuss a lot about digital humans in the coming slides. So I have a question. Can anyone tell me why digital human would be the center point, or why is it? Why do I feel it is so important? So the answer is around the utility. As long as a human can consume things, somebody can sell, and that situation or that transaction, it may exist any which where, then becomes relevant. So that's why everything that there is right now on a metaverse is actually centered around digital humans. Okay. So this slide again, I am reiterating onto the same topics: AR, VR, MR, and IoT. It is because these are somehow the channels that take inputs from the physical world and transit into a digital environment, or into a simulated environment. There are others as well, such as a smartphone, game controllers. But yeah, all of these can be considered, and this is understanding these technologies is important from the face that if we want to create our independent metaverse, we'll need to know from which venues to pull the inputs from, and these are those inputs. Onto a marketplace, we'll find augmented reality and virtual reality terms being used interchangeably. We should not. And I wanted to bring some of the knowledge from the consulting domain here. Uh, when we talk to the clients, when we talk to business houses, we clearly let them know on what kind of experiences they want, and accordingly, then they get to decide whether it will be an augmented one or whether it will be a virtual one. So, I'll give you an example. Let's say we are trying to play a game onto an Xbox, right? So that's a simulated environment where the player gets his simulated version as well. So that would entail into a VR setup. And if we are to talk about AR, digital elements superimposed into, sorry, um, okay, yeah, digital elements superimposed into a physical world, creating an interactive experience. So, what can be an example of this? Let's say you go to the Amazon app shopping. So, for example, if you try to purchase something such as a washing machine usually is a big device. It's a big appliance. You want to see whether it will fit into or where it will fit into your home. Amazon now has AR capability onto its app. It will simulate the 3D image of the washing machine on wherever you want to in your home. Of course, it will use the phone camera for that. And once it is placed, you can go around that object, which does not physically exist yet. but will give you a fair amount of idea whether it is going to be fitting there or not. This is something that you all can definitely give it a try. It is amazing how digital and physical things are coming together, right? So moving on from AR and VR, we now have MR, that is mixed reality. If we combine the above two technologies, then we'll get a digital environment where we can not only manipulate the digital objects, we can interact with them as well. So in one as a one foundation, we then have, let's say, MR as a base level, and let's say we want to interact with several other devices or several other things. That's where to enable that connectivity, we have then Internet of Things. So on Internet of Things, I'll uncomplicate it. Usually Internet of Things are utilized in the industry, manufacturing industry per se, but of late these things have also started coming into commercial market. For example, the washing machine that I was talking about, we now have washing machines that have internet connectivity, and what it essentially does is it will let you know how what is the condition of the machine, whether your wash cycle has completed. It will send you basically the notifications, and then it will help you. If it is properly set up, it will also help you to program what wash cycle do you want, when do you want to start it, stop it, and it is internet because you can control it from anywhere in the world. So you have a physical device, and then you have internet connectivity applied to it that enables, you can say, connectivity to it. But essentially, look at it. You have its controlling mechanism onto a phone, and that's why I think it is fair to call. Then it becomes a digital asset as well, along with a physical one. So something as such, they converge together to bring about a digital environment, what we can call right now as metaverse. We did not talk about the word meta into what word meta into metaverse means. It has multiple versions of understanding. One of them is, let's say, meta means something that does not that does not exist, but meta also is something that refers to itself. Okay, so something that might exist physically might not exist in the digital environment. Something that can exist in digital environment but might not exist physically. That's the crux of it, is that these two worlds are now interacting with each other, and that's that's why it should be called metaverse. So I see there's a small text that's not visible on the screen, but I would any which ways let you know. It just means that these certain technologies enable the output and create a digital experience in the metaverse. That's what is written here. Any questions or any doubts so far?
Any questions and any queries by the audience till this point of time? Okay. I think there is no.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if not, then I have a question.
So can anyone answer this? You can just answer it in the chat box, please. Nitya ma'am, Raman sir, Lalit sir, Neha ma'am.
Yes,
Simple
sir.
question
Yes,
to
sir.
answer.
Yes, sir.
What is
Please
the
go ahead.
option here? all options? So is it a multi-choice question or you have to select the best option?
The best option, sir.
So right. So some of them have given the correct answers there, I think. Nitin.
Okay. I cannot see the chat window.
Okay.
May I know the popular opinion?
The popular opinion is A.
Popular opinion is that's correct. That's the right answer. Good then. Now we spoke a lot about metaverse on what it is, what input channels are. One thing I've missed there, I should have also talked about how, as a system, it works. Any system will have input, then it will process something, and then will have an output. I think it is important to think on those terms as well whenever we are thinking of interacting with such environments. Nevertheless, let's move on to this topic. Now, as I was saying earlier, we'll talk about metaverse, then we'll talk about marketing, and we'll try to analyze if it makes sense in any which ways. So, when I was thinking about this topic, the top 3 points is what came to me, and is still relevant when I discuss around with the colleagues of mine and my seniors. Any technology, let's say today we have let's say technologies to separate hydrogen from water. I'm giving a very vague example so that we can acknowledge we can come up with methods, we can invent things, but it might not be possible to build businesses around it. It might not be uh, incentivizing enough to be invested into it, and thereby so many or several ideas get lost, right? So it is, I guess, relevant to think uh, if metaverse can be made to exist, or such a technology can come up with, can does it mean that businesses can be built around it or not? On the hindsight, as you all have had such sessions and you have had maybe you search on the internet, business firms are investing into it. The answer is obvious, but we should also consider the factors that have enabled this. So the thought is we will want to market something that's sellable, and we can sell it not only once, we have to sell consistently. Why to sell consistently? So that there's a revenue generation. Unless there's a revenue generation, it does not make a point to it does not make it a point to invest into it. Let's say we talk of L'Oreal. It makes shampoos. Now think of metaverse. Can it be digitally consumed? Will have no use, right? Unless they can think of things that can still attach them to a consumer. So the below points actually try to highlight what those incentives are, why businesses might want to invest into metaverse or building these kind of digital experiences. So one thing is clear, that uh, on the first slide you saw, metaverse is an immersive and persistent environment, and so it is a virtual real estate that exists and evolves in real time. So even if like nobody is accessing it at a point of time, it will still exist. That means there are new advertising spaces for in the least. So for brands such as L'Oreal and several others, they can leverage this space for their advertising, and Again, it will not be us who will be interacting with those adverts. It will be our digital persona called the avatars. So we have a new real estate, and also try to think in terms of the four P's, right? We have the methodology of checking the product, price, positioning, right? So all of those. Now we have a new product, the digital assets. These are new products. We have new places, as in today's physical world, we have billboards, we have flyers as advertising spaces. When television came in, television in a digital form became a new advertising space. Right? Then in terms of internet as well, internet became the new advertising spaces. For companies such as YouTube, that's the ads are the major revenue generator. So is for Google. They think on those same terms. That's where it makes the viability for business houses. If they are able to have some new real estate where they can advertise their products, it makes sense for them to invest. On top of that, it just does not end there. We can carry out real transaction. Either we try to transact in in currencies, mainstream currencies such as US dollar, Indian rupee, or rubles. We can utilize the cryptocurrencies as well. The baseline is it must be it is more incentivizing to use cryptocurrency, but for now you can say the mainstream currency is allowed as well. Then there's a new form of consumerism coming up. So when we have, let's say, our digital persona created, our digital avatar created, there are companies such as Nike, Adidas, who offer their digital products and they deliver it direct to avatar. On slide 2, I was talking about the importance of digital humans. Digital humans are the consumers of the metaverse. That was the point that I wanted to drive. And whenever now it is not metaverse is not a space for consumers only. It is for creators as well. The brands that I'm talking about, these are houses that have one or the other product. They want to stay close to their customers, and if the customer is going on to another dimension itself, they want to be there as well. Right. So the baseline of this slide is then that yes, metaverse is relevant to businesses, and because there are sellable products, it is relevant to marketing as well. And then it somewhere when we want to plan things, when we want to build business cases, it can be then aligned to the four P's. All right. So we have until the previous point we did analyze whether these two things can be married together or not. More or so, it looks like so. But then we as common people, how do we figure out? How do we understand the mechanics of interactions? How the cyber and the physical are interacting with each other? What is enabling them? To showcase that, I have this illustration here. You can see on around this middle top, I would say, that we have devices. This is a kind of headband. You can say it's a VR headset. Then we have smartphones, and on we have platforms. Now there are platforms such as Roblox, etc., who utilize their platform, means their resources to create these platforms of metaverse. will come to what those platforms can be. It can be something like a shop or something like a football ground, something, right? So essentially, what we want to focus on right here is the input devices. We have the platform where the processing can take place. We have the infrastructure that enables this. We need this infrastructure so that several users can interact with the same platform at a given point of time. And unless these things are kept as a foundation, none of the others can make sense. So let's say we have the foundation layer ready, then we need regulations, because whatever is then a digital asset should be identifiable, and we can tag it to a consumer, specific consumer. If not, then it will result in theft, and something as basic as identity theft on today's world, it can be hazardous in the digital world as well. So, moving away from the regulation side, we have different services. Now, sorry, we have different services that the business houses can plan through. Whether it is selling a product, whether it is just advertising, whether it is enabling something, those things can be planned by the business people, and what suits them the best, in what way their consumers can interact with these digital assets. So yeah, that's the illustration about, and hope it makes things a bit clear on how physical things and digital things interact with each other and exist. So I'll now move to the next slide. Now that we have analyzed and seen how these interactions can happen, it is important to talk about what opportunities are we looking at. What should what should be the avenues to look for, and these are, you can say, pretty much common sense. We'll have customized engagement. Then now all of the features that we are talking about here, it is all about the digital experience. The last point that you see, co-creation. Co-creation again is a new term coming in. So metaverse is would be a kiln where there would be again influencers, and then there are creators. So brands are not like creating from themselves. They are taking help of other platform features, other technologies as well, to come up with unique products that can be sold to even other brands, and also to the people of the metaverse. So that defines a new target consumer, not not just the physical people, but something on the digital scale as well. And the more unique things the businesses can produce, the more differentiation it can be, and it carries those risks. Not to say these are all glorified things, and all is means not subject to any risk, and whatever is produced is consumable. But it carries those risks, whether it can be consumed or not, whether it can be uh, taken up by the people readily or not. Yeah. So this is where I try to think more on how I can explain things from a consulting point of view. From consulting endpoint, like I was saying on why on whether marketing would be relevant to metaverse, this is how we actually think. Unless there's an ROI, will not will not even like try to talk about it seriously. So it matters whenever I talk about business brands and things as such. They will have someone as a chief marketing officer, and unless the chief marketing officer can analyze, can come up with quantifiable things, they'll not invest. So I have tried to list out things what matters to them, and or what can they look forward to when they think of digital experiences and interactions with their consumers. Right now, I have three broad pillars: engagement, revenue, and brand awareness. These are more or less the broad KPIs what a CMO would be looking up to. If these can be made up or down, if it can be improved, then it makes sense. And time and again, I'm saying that there has to be a ROI, there has to be a viable business case for people to be invested into it. Is because all of these maintenance of digital experience, the maintenance of metaverse, the efforts needed to build is a huge cost, and somehow it has to be recovered, right? So I guess we have people from the MBA background, I think. uh,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
we have.
Yeah, I'll not dwell onto the topics on how what product placement and those should be, but what I want to mean here is to the relevant business, uh, metaverse becomes a viable or is a good platform to work with, and from the same standpoint, the normal metrics will not work anymore. We can have you can say reactive analytics on what went wrong, how a new product can be launched, and those things. Here the metrics are not so quantified, is because metaverse is still evolving and we don't know how the consumers yet want to interact with the businesses. So right now you can say the metrics are moreover bound into like number of users, sessions. Now these are very different from the current digital engagement that we have. In the Internet 2.0 era, we have quantification such as number of likes, number of subscriptions, number of watch hours, right? So those are the existing world metrics. These are the matrices of the future. But how will these be quantified remains a question and is being still evolving.
Any questions? No, I don't think. I am not seeing any question.
Okay.
Well, Uh, yeah, no questions there.
Okay. Okay. So we spoke about what matters to the chief marketing officer. Then let's also see what kind of CMOs are interested or are looking up to the metaverse. And this slide is more to give you all an idea what are those business pillars who are actively investing into the metaverses. I could have branched it out into a more formal kind of structure like BFSI and those kind of BFSI, retail, FMCG, those kind of structure. But I've tried to keep it very light and more so from the point of having this graph, right? This is again like a projection, but we can say there are viable business cases in all of these. So this is more for a reference point of view. We will move on, and then we have a quiz again.
Please provide your option in the chat box, please. I'll look at it. Though there was an observation by Dr. Sharan,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the previous one where you gave the
Okay.
metaverse, right? He said that all options are used in metaverse, like
Okay.
gaming and everything, right?
Huh. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll go back to this question.
Yeah. So
Now, the intent of this question, I'll not try to forcefully be right.
mm,
My intent of this question was to define a metaverse.
right. So that was the one best option would have been A
A
only,
best
right?
option would have
But
been
all the
A.
options would have been correct.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're
they are
partially.
there.
These are partial contributions.
Right.
It does not holistically define what a metaverse could be.
Absolutely. So yeah, coming back to the question second.
Yeah.
Yeah, people answer this query, please. Yeah, I'm waiting for the answers. People, can you just send your answers through chat box, please?
So one tip that I would give, this question is more about thinking in terms of marketing only. Like, let's not think about overall requirements from a metaverse, but let's think, uh, does it really bind to the marketing domain?
Benefit of marketing, not a benefit.
Not a benefit in marketing.
So it's not a benefit what you have to look at. So definitely, the option A is there, B is there.
Okay. I think we have waited enough.
D,
So the answer is D.
because rest all are advantages of the metaverse, right? While D is not a. In fact, that's a concern
Yes,
in the
that's
metaverse domain.
correct.
Yeah. Over to you, Ajit.
Thank you, sir. Um, so that's the right thought process, sir. This one is a concern. Rest all are a benefit of the marketing domain. All right. So we have spoken about marketing. Then we looked on to what CMO would want to. Then he would want to have strategies, and to have strategies, we must know what our consumers are and what our products are. So I'll not spend much time on this slide. I think it is pretty much apparent, but let's take a look at option means point number three. That's the channel here. Platforms become a major part of the branding. This is where uh, I would say not one, but even multiple brands can interact. Right now, we see these platforms such as Decentraland, Roblox, right? So these platforms are individually being adopted. There are business houses, let's say it's Coca-Cola, they will try to use something such as Meta Horizon for their metaverse. But whether Adidas will exist in that same metaverse or not needs to be seen. And those evolutions will need to be observed. But that's for later on. Right now, right now these brands are going for individual creations, and that's where to know these channels is important in terms of branding and value. We it generally is very qualitative. Usually these days, these brands price or have their products from the perceived value rather than from the actual value. So that's where you can also imagine that's where the NFTs were so costly when they came up, because the perceived value was so high. It didn't take much to create it, but people were like astounded to see, okay, something can exist on a blockchain and that can be owned by them, and they spent money for it. Then we have campaigns. Now, the agenda is to drive consumer engagement, and for that we can have several campaigns. Here, I have vaguely written an example of enterprises F&B industry, but what I also want to talk about is our corporate firms such as EY, such as Deloitte. What we also try to do is we try to set up labs, we try to set up metaverse experiences, and then we'll bring out the clients for them to come and observe. There was a automation company who used to have a bus, and on that bus they projected all these digital experiences of their products, and that became a huge marketing hit. So something as that as well, from the campaign standpoint, becomes very relevant. Then performance as in this can be a reactive measure when we have everything sorted out, going as a forethought: target audience, brand and value, channel, campaign, all these going as a forethought and pre-planning. What about the post planning? Where do you cut down? Where do you do your course correction? That all depends on performance. That's where we might need to do a better targeting, and maybe try to have a better reach to the consumers. Right. Okay, so I'll now move to the next slide. Yeah, here we have then case studies and examples. So I'll exit the slideshow mode. uh, People, you can let me know your opinion. I'm about to play videos on the metaverse that some of the brands have created. So if you want to skip, we can skip this. Sir, shall I continue running it?
Yeah, you can continue.
So I've muted out the audio, but still, I guess the visual should be enough.
You can share it with us.
Okay. I don't know whether it will be. Huh, I can say.
Just
I,
increase the volume.
yeah.
Sir, there's no audio in this. Ajit sir?
Actually, the audio is then just routed to my headphones.
Sir, if it is required, then I can just let you know how to share this video so that the audio
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
participants can.
Yeah. Please let me know.
Sir, is this a YouTube video?
It's a YouTube video.
Sir, I would just request you to stop sharing once.
Okay.
So can you go to the Google Chrome browser, and therein you can just click on stop sharing, or this pop-up also. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect, sir. Now can you go to the Meet window, and therein we have the upward arrow.
Yes.
Yes, there you have to choose that particular tab, sir. Can you see? You will be first given
Okay.
the yes,
Yeah,
that
share
tab
tab audio. Okay.
where
Okay.
the video is there. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sharing it. Let me know if the audio is there right now. Then.
Wendy's overtook the king.
Audible, sir. The video audio is there now in
Okay.
the video.
Okay. Just a question. So I have another video on the next tab. I'll have to switch tabs again.
You will have to switch the tab, then again stop sharing and share that particular tab, sir.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you.
But McDonald's stores still outnumbered us 3-1. So we had a choice: outbuild them in the real world, or build a new world of our own.
Wendyverse, of course. What else could it be?
I'm going to the Wendyverse, dude.
Centered around a Wendy's restaurant,
I used to work at Wendy's. It looked just like this.
we created the first way to get real food in virtual reality.
Oh wait, I can get real
look,
free
did you
nuts?
know? Yeah, in real life. Did you know about the secret spot? Come here, follow me.
And for a little fun, we hid some food you wouldn't want to eat.
There's a McDonald's bag in the freezer. That's funny.
Built in the virtual reality game Horizon Worlds, this wasn't just a restaurant.
That's Wendy. Oh my God.
wobbly, drop it like it's hot. It is definitely it's a baked potato.
With so many experiences to explore, it's a whole Wendy's universe.
Welcome to the Buck Biscuit Dome.
So I guess you try to throw your fry into the frosty.
Let me try this half-core burger shot real quick.
Curry. And I recorded that.
And the Wendyverse is already expanding. So fans can keep coming back to this virtual world while they get real food delivered right to their door.
The Metaverse has enabled Wendy's to explode and grow their brand in a way that was never possible before.
McDonald's may have a restaurant on every corner, but the Wendyverse puts a restaurant in every living room.
Kind of a Wendy's location to me because I'm sitting in my own home.
You kind of want it, Wendy's. Like, let's be honest here.
This is one format. The other one, I'll just bring it up. So this one is for a fashion brand, that's Forever 21. What we saw was the F&B one, how they have shaped their metaverse experience. Let's see how a fashion brand would and did. All right. So, any any observations or any thoughts on what you just saw?
Any comments till this point of time? I don't think so. They have any comments.
No.
Okay.
All right. So on that slide that I was sharing, all right, uh, I had some more examples for Nike, Coke, IKEA, and Christie's. I believe these are only to help understand when we say business, what all also is coming in, how these brands are personalizing the metaverse experience for their consumers. We also spoke about the platforms that are building the metaverse experience for these brands. Now, there's a Nike Land that now exists on Roblox, and so Nike has partnered with Roblox for creating Nike Land. As you can see, this is more attuned towards adventure and will have Nike merchandising on the GIF that you see on the screen. You can see this sports guy. He has a Nike shoe on it. So that's where now he as an avatar is a consumer of such a product. Then we have sports equipment. This ball that you saw, that was from Nike, and I guess the shoe is one of the new sneakers from Nike. So it is also important to see how these firms are now investing into it. They have entire website sections dedicated towards metaverse experiences. Then let's have a look at the examples such as Coca-Cola. They had usually they sell beverages which technically cannot be consumed into a metaverse, but they have something to offer. If you see, these are old style, as in these have a retro vibe to it. So these as a digital product can be offered to people. Just look at it right now. It says Coca-Cola to offer first ever NFT collectibles in International Friendship Day charity. So what they did, they offered a friendship box. As a part of this friendship box, they had this Coca-Cola cooler, then you can say a poster, a bubble jacket. So all these became a part of the offering as their NFT, and Coca-Cola has minted money out of it because the consumers found it good enough to get it. Okay, so this is about the F&B. We saw the adventure, but there are other uses as well. There was a AR experience that I was trying to share with you and with the Amazon. The IKEA is a well-known furniture brand, European brand, and until now they were looking into DIY furniture. They have ready-made products, but uh, usually when let's say you buy tables from them, they will ship it out in an unassembled condition, and they'll have the assembly done at your place, or even we can do it. They are taking this thing a bit further. They are now enabling you to create your own living room. You can design it. You can create have a digital version of your current living room, and then see how well their products fit in. And just take a look at the bottom right one here. So here, if you see your custom space, you can have the photo of your room here, and then you can try to place things, so you'll already get a feel on how things are going to be utilized, or how good does it look, what looks good. Often we purchase things with our hints that, okay, if it does not fit or it does not look good, we'll live with it or can return. This is another use case, and then we'll move into something called as Christie's. This brand is responsible for selling digital art. For example, let's say if we know Mona Lisa is a world famous painting, but someone such as a Christie would own a digital form of it, as in something that can be traded with on a metaverse. Okay, so essentially, Christie's as a brand, they sell digital art for your digital homes, which are hosted on a metaverse. Okay, and I would just want to highlight just this number. From one art form, they had they sold it for 69 million USD. That's what it is right now. That's what's the potential of this technology. That's what the potential of the amalgamation of cyber and the physical world. Of course, it will settle down, but think from the business point of view, these are avenues of business. These are opportunities missed if not taken upon. That's what we also believe, and consultants such as Ernst and Young, Accenture, they have their own metaverse labs that help businesses understand the value and relevance of the metaverse. So we have, I would say, our own metaverse experiences, and the idea behind it is, in these kind of situation, in these kind of technological evolutions, if you are not early, then you are too late, because the moment or the rate at which these technologies would mature would bring down the revenue that is earnable from them. I'll just open up this link here. It is very texty. It is, but all in all, what it is trying to say is how a consultancy firm can help a client to have a decentralized economy, and how they can utilize the metaverse and Web 3.0. Web 3.0 is the basic building block of a metaverse, I would say. So the goal is to create immersive experiences for relevant people, for relevant businesses, and help them capitalize on it. And for that, we already have, you can say, the incubators. All right. After all these examples, I would go back to the PPT. Moving on to the next slide. So on the last slide, I spoke about these business houses. Then we also spoke about what the consulting companies are having as offerings. Here on this slide, I'm trying to show what are the avenues of engagement. What business functions can be directly linked towards the metaverse. One of the examples that I can offhand give you is on the training. For example, let's say we have baristas, right? When we have, let's say, there's a coffee house, they need to train their baristas to prepare coffee in a specific manner. They want to serve customers in a specific manner. Those trainings, they can have it emulated or created onto a metaverse, and that is a repeatable content that they can use worldwide. There are business cases where the ROI on such usage has been 300%. So it should be a takeaway that using a metaverse or such new avenues, the rewards are quite huge. It cannot be like contained or quantified into a small measure. And think of it in if they are spanned across multiple verticals or spanned across multiple use cases. We already saw what a retail can have. We also have some of the novel things such as meetings. So we today we all of us, most of us work in MNCs, and then we have colleagues and friends working or moving over to other territories, maybe Europe, US. Metaverse again gives you an option or creates avenues to meet them in person on such platforms. All right. So that's the takeaway from this slide. Then I'll move to challenges. So on the previous quiz that we saw, we were talking about what are the benefits for the marketing, and we ended up knowing that data privacy is a concern for the marketing in the metaverse, and that's what is exactly highlighted here. There are other challenges as well, as in the landscape. It is still complex. When we say all the strata of the society are interested and are accessing it, I would say no, and that leaves us something to think about. How well an equalizer it is. Then we don't know how the consumer behavior will change. If everything is going to be digitized, then what's real, what's not becomes blurry. And from a sanity point of view, that's not good. We also have ethical challenges. We might see a new kind of challenges coming up. One of them is mentioned over here as digital addiction. If let's say there are four members in a house and one of them is on a VR headset all day, living his or her life in a metaverse, the other three will feel the one person is overdoing it, and might not be good for the actual physical world that we live for. Okay, so now it's time for the third question. This it does is not knowledge based. This is just you can say, I would say it is more on the luck side.
Attention based.
Attention based, yes.
So anyone who was paying attention can just tell the answer of this one. Hello. Anyone would like to give the see what they were attentive or not? D.
The
So
answer is D.
Dr. Lalit has given a correct one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lalit.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting session. Thank you so much, Ajit sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. So I'm moving on to the next slide, and this is one of my final slides. So usually we have towards the end of the slides we have takeaways. I have put questions because as you said, Lalit, Dr. Lalit, that we had a good session here, and I want to leave all of you with more questions. We should not when we question, we tend to embrace the future. The intent is that it is not to criticize, but if we are to embrace it, we need to question it. We need to understand it better, and that's where my intention is to have all these questions, search it around, and the more you understand, the more better it is for me to talk upon, maybe when we next meet. I'll not go question by question, but this is These questions intend to highlight how interoperability works. I was saying earlier that okay, how a brand like Nike will interact with Adidas or with Coke onto a one single metaverse. How does that work? We have not seen such a thing as of yet, but we need to, right? That's the natural state of evolution. Then we have GDPR and cyber regulations. Uh, they need to be reworked, and we have these days GDPR localized to one of the other geographical territories. How will these apply when we talk when we think of it in digital terms, when we think of it metaverse terms? And then of course the privacy and security. It's all digital and it does not necessarily exist, but privacy and security remain a question. How the data is stored. Let's say you and I had a digital avatar, and tomorrow you see another face into it with another kind of persona altogether. That will not be nice. And somewhere that kind of policing, that kind of mm, regulation needs to be in place that helps people claim back if in case there is anything that's unwanted. And of course there are more questions like you see here. How can brands secure more consent, your consent, and how will so the data sourcing be then? How will companies act upon the consumer insights? All these are questions to be looked upon. And to help you guys a bit, I have another slide. This was not mentioned on to the content slide. We can only understand if we means interact more on such cases. This is where I have provided such links so that somewhere in between all of these we might find some answers. Some or the other company might be thinking of these same queries and might be trying to solve them. Right. So this is the final slide that I have, and thank you for such a lovely session.